Welcome back everyone. In this video I'm showing you how to build around the bestial incantations and make a character worthy of the title the Elden Lord. If you're new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button because I'll make a build for every magic type in the game and you don't want to miss out on any of them. Being a level 100 build, every point matters, so choosing the right class from the beginning is one of the most important things. We will focus most of our points into vigor and strength, while adding a few points into mind, endurance and faith. We won't be needing points into dexterity, intelligence and arcane. That being said, for this build we will be using the prophet class. And this is how our stat spread looks at level 100. 40 points into vigor will give us a good amount of HP, enough to avoid being one shot, even in the late game. 14 points into mind are enough because our spells don't consume a lot of FP, and we will use them only in particular situations. 19 points into endurance will give us a decent amount of stamina and will make us mid-roll when we use the Radagon Sorcerer Talisman. 40 points into strength are going to give our weapon the damage we need to overcome any opponent. No point will be put into dexterity, intelligence and arcane because our weapons have a minimum requirement of 10 dexterity, while intelligence and arcane will not be used in this build. And 39 points into fate will give our weapon and spells good damage. For this build we are using Morgoth's Great Rune, because we are going to trade a lot of hits, so the extra health is a great option. Speaking of health, it will increase our HP from 1581 to 1976, so almost 400 HP, which is not bad honestly. Our main weapon is the Beastclaw Greathammer, which, when max upgraded, has C scaling in strength and dexterity and D scaling in fate. Without any buff, we have 722 AR, which isn't the best, but you can buff it further with Golden Vow and Flame grant me strength, or Golden Vow and Exalted Flesh. It also comes with the amazing Ash of War, Regal Beastclaw, which is basically the Beastclaw incantation, but with better damage and larger AoE. Our backup weapon is the Cinquedea Dagger. It has a special ability which boosts bestial incantations by 10% and it stacks with the Clawmark seal we are using, which also boosts bestial incantations. The dagger has B scaling in strength, which is nice because we have 45 points into that stat. Lastly, we use the Clawmark seal to cast our spells. It has B scaling in both strength and fate and an incantation scaling of 270. And when you cast spells, make sure you two-hand the seal and have the dagger in your other hand to boost the damage. I believe this is the most beast-like combination of armor pieces I could find. If you've found other pieces that resemble bestiality better, please let me know in the comments. We use the Malekith Graves, gauntlets and armor in combination with the Black Wolf mask. The whole set gives us decent damage reduction and 42 poise. I think the Clean Rot set also looks good and it works really well with the weapon, but we would have to put more points into endurance because it's heavier than Malekith's set. It also offers us better resistances and poise, so if you don't mind losing some damage or health for extra protection, go ahead. For the talismans, we use the Shard of Alexander, which improves the damage of our weapon skill and makes it even better. The Radagon Sorcerer increases our vigor, endurance, strength and dexterity by 5 points. While also increasing the damage taken roughly by 15%. The Bulgoth Talisman improves our poise by 30%, which means that from 42 poise we get to 56, which is important because we are going to need to trade hits or make sure our skills are not going to get interrupted. Lastly, the Dragon Crest Great Shield Talisman reduces the physical damage received by 20%. It is very good in combination with the Bulgoth Talisman because if we will be trading hits, we need to make sure we receive as little damage as possible. We are very lucky because we need only 15 fate to use our spells. And since all of them deal physical damage, they benefit from investments into strength and get buffed by the Exalted Flesh, for example. We won't be using the Beastclaw incantation because we have the better version in Regal Beastclaw weapon skill. Bestial Constitution could be useful in PvP because Bleed and Frostbite are the current meta and this spell removes the build-up. But I won't be using it because this character is PvE inclined and in PvE there are not many enemies who create these build-ups. Gurranq's Beastclaw has the best AoE of all these spells. Sadly, it does not deal a lot of damage and takes a while to cast, but it costs nothing to slot it in case you feel like you will need it. Bestial Vitality restores 5 HP per second and it should be active in every battle we have. It also costs a mere 18 FP to cast, so it's a must-have for any build that has at least 12 Faith. Stone of Gurranq has amazing stun potential due to its big poise damage. I like to spam this skill in the beginning after I drink the flask and summon the ashes. Bestial Sling has a very fast casting time, and if you hit a big enemy with all the shards, you can deal decent damage. It costs almost nothing and can be used while riding Torrent. You know, I try to use a Spirit Ash related for every build I'm showcasing, and for this build I believe the Azula Beastman Ashes is the perfect pick. This Ash summons 2 Azula Beastman spirits. They are extremely aggressive and can stagger opponents very easy, and because we are running a melee build, we will be helping them devour any prey we encounter, even that easy optional boss that not many people know of, Malenia, Blade of Miquella. We are mixing the Flask of Wondrous Physique with the Cerulean Hidden Tier, which eliminates the FP consumption for 15 seconds, because the Spirit Ash costs more FP than we have. And while we use this for the Spirit Ash, we can either spam some spells or the weapon skill for the duration of this effect. The other tier we use is the Strength Knot tier, which improves our strength by 10 points, which is good for the damage of both our spells and weapons. Alternatively, you can use the Stone Barb Cracked tier to stagger opponents easier with the spells. Other consumables we use are the Exalted Flesh and the Boiled Crab. Exalted Flesh is the equivalent of Flame Grant Me Strength, but without the fire damage bonus. It boosts our physical damage by 20% for 30 seconds. Boiled Crab reduces incoming damage taken by 20% for a minute. It does not stack with Exalted Flesh however, so use them according to your needs. The Grandson of Gurranq is the bonus build for the bestial incantations, and he is not very developed and only knows 2 spells, Bestial Vitality and Bestial Sling. He uses dual daggers, Cinque Dea, and a heavy or blood-stained dagger with a Beast Roar Ash of War, and a Clawmark seal as the casting seal. For this build you might want to pick the hero class at the character creation, because the stat distribution allows us to spend more points into vigor and strength. The stats are as follows. 50 vigor grants us even more HP than before. We will put no points in mind because we use only 2 spells and they cost very little. 20 endurance because we will be very aggressive and spam attacks with the dual daggers. 60 strength for big damage with the daggers. 10 dexterity just because we get more points from the talisman. 12 faith to use the spells we need and no points into intelligence and arcane. We keep Morgoth's Great Rune and now we have even more HP, 2267. We replace the Malekith armor, gauntlets and boots with the Cleanrot counterparts. For the talisman, we keep the Radagon Sword Seal and Dragoncrest Grey Shield talisman and replace the Shard of Alexander with Millicent Prosthetis, and also replace the Bulgoth's talisman with the Star Scourge Heirloom for extra strength. Alternatively, you can use the Rotten Winged Sword Insignia instead of Millicent Prosthetis, or the Roar Talisman to improve the Beast Roar. All the consumables stay the same, and as for the gameplay, we will use the Quick Step skill on Cinque Dea to sidestep around like a beast, and use the Beast Roar on faraway enemies, or if we don't want to engage in melee combat. After we buff ourselves with the Exalted Flesh and the Flask, we can use the 15 seconds to spam the Bestial Sling on enemies with big hitboxes to deal quick and decent damage. After the effect ends, we return to slashing our way to victory. And these were our builds for the Bestial Incantations. I hope you liked them. If you did, please let me know by liking the video and subscribing. There are a lot more builds like this to come, and by subscribing you will get notified as soon as I post them. The next one will be for either Dead Sorceries or Godslayer Incantations, and after that I'll start making a build for a new category, either a modded build or a role-playing build. And if you haven't already, go check the videos for the Fire Giant Incantations and Gravity Sorceries. I'll link them in the description. That was all for now, see you in the next one.